In a world where our digital lives are increasingly tracked, monitored, and commodified, the choices we make about our devices and software matter more than ever. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into a Linux operating system that has been steadily gaining attention among privacy-minded users, activists, developers, and tech enthusiasts. It's an operating system designed not just for functionality, but for a core philosophy: privacy, freedom, and simplicity. That operating system is PureOS. Whether you're completely new to Linux or you're curious about alternatives to mainstream systems like Windows, macOS, or even other Linux distributions, this script will explain what PureOS is, why it exists, how it works, who it's for, its strengths, its limitations, its ecosystem, and what makes it stand out in the crowded landscape of open-source software in the year 2026. Let's begin with the basics. PureOS is a free and open-source operating system based on Linux, developed with a strong focus on digital privacy, security, and personal freedom. It is one of the few operating systems today that explicitly commits to a privacy-first philosophy at every layer of its design. What does that mean? At its core, it means that PureOS is built to minimize tracking and surveillance, to avoid proprietary software that could hide surveillance code, and to put the user in control of their data and their digital environment. Unlike mainstream commercial systems that often integrate data collection services, telemetry, and closed-source drivers or applications, PureOS rejects these by design. The name PureOS reflects this commitment to purity, pure freedom, pure privacy, pure open source. The system is maintained by Purism, a company well known for building hardware like the Librem series of laptops and, more recently, smartphones. These devices are purpose-built to run PureOS. But the software itself is designed to run on a wide range of compatible hardware beyond Purism's products. What makes PureOS unique is not just its open-source nature that is true of many Linux distributions, but the explicit priorities of privacy and ethical computing that are integrated into every part of the user experience. Now let's imagine you are a user in 2026, considering PureOS as your daily operating system. When you first boot up PureOS, you'll notice something familiar yet distinct. It feels intuitive, with a modern desktop environment that's easy for people coming from other operating systems to adapt to. PureOS uses GNOME as its default desktop environment, which means clean visuals, predictable workflows, and accessible design. Whether you're new to Linux or you've used it before, the interface doesn't overwhelm. But what's happening behind the scenes is where PureOS's philosophy shines. From the outset, PureOS emphasizes privacy. The default web browser in PureOS is a privacy-enhanced version of Firefox called PureBrowser. PureBrowser comes pre-configured with strong privacy settings. It blocks third-party trackers, blocks fingerprinting techniques, and routes web search queries through privacy-preserving search engines like DuckDuckGo or alternatives such as Cirque's instances. Instead of sending your queries to big tech companies that harvest data for behavioral profiling, PureBrowser keeps your queries more private. In 2026, this focus on privacy has become even more critical as regulations and censor networks have expanded and user awareness of digital surveillance has increased. PureOS gives users choice and control in a world where those things are increasingly rare. The operating system also deliberately avoids proprietary software that cannot be audited. In Linux, software is often packaged as either open source or proprietary. Proprietary software contains code that users cannot inspect or modify. While this is common in many operating systems, PureOS rejects it virtually entirely. The developers of PureOS follow the Free Software Foundation's strict guidelines, meaning every piece of software included in the default repositories is free software in the truest sense. This ensures that anyone can inspect the code, understand what it does, and be confident that it does not contain hidden tracking, backdoors, or closed-source telemetry. In addition to software freedom, PureOS protects users through hardened defaults. These include features like disk encryption during installation, secure boot chains, and regular security updates that are rigorously tested before release. For users who don't want to think about deep configuration, PureOS makes secure choices by default, so the operating system remains safe without requiring the user to be a security expert. Another important aspect of PureOS is how it handles software installation and package management. Like many Linux distributions, PureOS uses a package manager, in this case apt-ta, which stems from its Debian heritage. But PureOS's repositories are curated to ensure that only software that meets its strict privacy and freedom standards is available. Users can install applications from the PureOS store, a software center that provides easy browsing, searching, and installation of applications with clear privacy labels and descriptions. In 2026, software transparency has become much more mainstream, and PureOS's model anticipates and exemplifies that trend. Users can see exactly what an application does, what permissions it needs, and what data it accesses. PureOS also offers Flatpak support, which means it can run sandboxed applications that are packaged to work across many Linux distributions. These sandboxed apps are isolated from the rest of the system, limiting what they can access and reducing the chances that a malicious or vulnerable application can compromise your data. But even as it embraces software like Flatpak for convenience, PureOS ensures sandboxed applications align with its privacy principles. As users interact with the PureOS ecosystem, another layer of privacy becomes evident in how networking works. PureOS supports system-wide integration of privacy tools like Tor and VPN services. Users who want to browse anonymously or protect their network traffic from surveillance can enable Tor easily, routing selected applications or even the whole system through the Tor network. Likewise, PureOS can work seamlessly with privacy-respecting VPN providers, giving users control over their digital footprint across networks. But PureOS's privacy focus goes beyond software and networking. It includes firmware and hardware considerations. Purism's own hardware lineup, such as the Librem 14 laptop and Librem 5 smartphone, integrates security features like physical kill switches for the camera, microphone, LAN Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. These switches allow users to physically disconnect these components at the hardware level when they aren't needed, ensuring there's no software trick or exploit that could secretly activate them. In a world where cyberattacks and hardware hacks are routine headlines, these physical privacy protections offer peace of mind that software alone can't provide. Even with all these advanced features, PureOS remains a general-purpose operating system. You can browse the internet, work on documents, run creative software, compile code, play games that support Linux, and interact with cloud services, but with more transparency and control. For many users, the transition from a mainstream OS to PureOS is not just a technical switch but a philosophical one. They are choosing to reduce their dependency on major tech companies that monetize user data, and instead embrace an environment where user sovereignty is a priority. Of course, some users might wonder if this emphasis on privacy and freedom comes at the cost of usability or compatibility. In earlier years, many privacy-focused operating systems were criticized for being difficult to use or lacking support for common hardware and applications. But by 2026, PureOS has matured significantly. Hardware compatibility has improved dramatically, thanks to contributions from the open-source community and increasing support from hardware vendors who recognize the demand for open systems. Printers, graphics cards, DUI-free chipsets, and peripherals that once required proprietary drivers now often work out of the box with open-source alternatives. This doesn't mean that every device in the world is supported, but the situation is better than ever before, and the ecosystem continues to grow. Compatibility for applications has also improved. For users who rely on mainstream proprietary applications, such as certain professional creative tools or INDUSTR standard software, PureOS and Linux more broadly still face some challenges. However, in 2026, the landscape has changed markedly with advancements in compatibility layers such as Proton and Wine, and with many developers releasing native Linux versions of their software. Additionally, cloud-based services and web-based applications have become more powerful, enabling users to run many common programs directly in the browser, often with better privacy protections layered on top. One of the most exciting aspects of PureOS's growth is its community. The PureOS community includes developers, privacy advocates, hobbyists, educators, and everyday users who share a vision for a more transparent digital world. Through forums, Wikis, documentation projects, and contribution programs, this community supports one another, contributes code, translates documentation into multiple languages, and helps onboard new users. This growth reflects a broader trend in the open-source world: decentralized innovation and collaboration on software that belongs to its users rather than to a corporation. But PureOS is not just about philosophically noble ideals. It also addresses real, practical concerns people have about their digital environment. In recent years, data breaches, AI surveillance systems, and pervasive analytics have made headlines around the world. Users are increasingly aware that their personal data, from search queries and browsing history to location data and usage patterns, can be harvested, stored, and analyzed without their explicit knowledge or consent. PureOS pushes back on this trend by default, offering a system that doesn't phone home telemetry, doesn't embed proprietary tracking modules, and doesn't rely on large tech companies for core functionality. This design philosophy resonates with privacy regulators and civil liberties organizations too. In many jurisdictions, data protection and digital rights frameworks have become more stringent. Operating systems like PureOS that offer transparency, user control, and minimal data collection align with emerging regulatory expectations and best practices. For organizations and individuals who offer digital services to privacy-conscious users, adopting PureOS can signal a commitment to ethical computing and user respect. It is also worth noting that while PureOS is especially appealing to privacy-centric users, it does not require users to abandon convenience. The PureOS store includes popular open-source applications for productivity, multimedia, communication, and education. Whether you need a full Office suite, mail client, music player, video editor, or coding environment, you can find robust options that respect user freedom. And if your workflow depends on applications outside the PureOS store, the system's flexibility allows you to add additional repositories or sandbox applications with clear awareness of privacy implications. For organizations like schools, nonprofit groups, conscious businesses, and government entities concerned about digital sovereignty, PureOS presents an interesting proposition. Reducing reliance on proprietary, opaque systems can help protect sensitive information, foster open innovation, and align with institutional commitments to ethical technology. In educational settings, PureOS gives students an opportunity to learn about computing in an environment where they can inspect and understand every part of the system. This educational value extends beyond one specific company or platform. It cultivates digital literacy and empowers the next generation to think critically about technology. While no software ecosystem is perfect, and no operating system can solve every digital problem, PureOS has carved out a compelling niche. It strikes a balance between usability and radical transparency. It respects user autonomy without demanding intense technical expertise. And it demonstrates that privacy-first computing is not only possible but viable for everyday use in 2026. As we look toward the future, we can imagine a world where privacy, security, and freedom are not afterthoughts but core values of mainstream digital systems. PureOS may not be the dominant operating system on every desktop and device tomorrow, but its influence extends beyond its user base. It challenges the broader tech ecosystem to think about what it means to build software that respects human dignity and personal agency in a connected world. So whether you're a privacy enthusiast exploring alternatives, a professional seeking a secure computing environment, a student curious about open-source software, or simply someone who cares about digital autonomy, PureOS offers a thoughtfully designed path forward. In a time when technology shapes so much of our lives, choosing an operating system like PureOS is not just a technical decision, it's a statement about the kind of digital future you want to be part of. And in that sense, PureOS is more than software. It's part of a broader movement toward ethical, transparent, and user-centric computing.